President Donald Trump's administration is reportedly planning to revive its maximum pressure campaign against Iran, aiming to bankrupt the country and curb its perceived nuclear ambitions. This strategy, which was a hallmark of President Trump's first term, involves tightening sanctions on Iran, particularly targeting its vital oil exports, to reduce its influence in the Middle East. In May 2018, the Trump administration withdrew from the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, JCPOA, an agreement aimed at limiting Iran's nuclear capabilities. This withdrawal marked the beginning of a renewed sanctions regime against Iran, which had previously benefited from economic relief under the deal. The current strategy involves extensive sanctions, targeting various sectors of the Iranian economy, including oil exports, banking, and metal exports. These sanctions are designed to isolate Iran financially, and cut off its access to global markets. The goal is to significantly reduce Iran's oil revenue, which is crucial for its economy. Alongside economic sanctions, the maximum pressure strategy seeks to diplomatically isolate Iran by rallying international support against it. This includes pressuring allies to adhere to U.S. sanctions, and discouraging trade with Iran. The previous maximum pressure campaign led to severe economic hardships in Iran, including high inflation and currency depreciation. The strategy also heightened tensions in the Middle East, leading to increased military confrontations and proxy conflicts involving Iranian-backed groups in countries like Iraq and Yemen. U.S. sanctions also impacted global oil markets by reducing Iranian oil exports significantly. As traditional buyers like Japan and South Korea pulled back, due to U.S. sanctions, China stepped in as a major buyer of discounted Iranian crude, complicating enforcement efforts by Washington. All indications point to the resumption of this maximum strategy when President Trump takes office. Thus, Trump's team intends to reimpose stringent sanctions as soon as he takes office. This includes reducing Iran's oil exports to minimal levels, potentially just a few hundred barrels per day. The overarching goal of this approach is to force Iran back to the negotiating table, regarding its nuclear program and regional activities. Trump's advisors believe that crippling Iran economically will incentivize it to engage in talks, under U.S. terms, which they anticipate will be significantly tougher than those previously offered. Reports suggest that executive orders targeting Iran could be signed on Trump's first day back in office, reflecting a swift return to aggressive policies against Tehran. This strategy aims to choke off Iran's oil revenues, which have been significant in recent years, with projections suggesting Iran's oil profits could reach $34 billion in 2024. Trump's administration is expected to target international ports and traders involved in Iranian oil transactions, potentially disrupting the global oil market. However, the world is very different than the one in 2018. Thus, Iranian officials have expressed skepticism about the effectiveness of renewed sanctions. Majid Takhtravanchi, Iran's deputy foreign minister, warned that any attempt at maximum pressure would be met with maximum resistance, indicating a readiness to counter U.S. efforts. Furthermore, Iranian leaders have stated their willingness to negotiate, but emphasized that such discussions cannot occur under duress or intimidation. Regional dynamics have also shifted since Trump's first term, with some Arab Gulf states, for example, seeking improved relations with Tehran. And both Russia and China have increasingly engaged Iran in multilateral organizations that help mitigate the impact of U.S. sanctions. For example, because of Trump's first maximum strategy in 2018, China has stepped in and supported Iran. Thus, China has significantly increased its imports of Iranian oil. Reports indicate that Chinese imports surged by around 30% in 2023. China has also positioned itself as a staunch ally of Iran in the face of U.S. pressure. Beijing has engaged in diplomatic efforts to strengthen ties with Tehran, emphasizing mutual support against what it perceives as American-led containment strategies. This includes backing Iran in international forums and promoting cooperation in various sectors, including defense and trade. In response to the strategic challenges posed by U.S. actions, China has adopted a dual-circulation economic strategy aimed at reducing its dependence on American markets, while enhancing domestic consumption and innovation. This approach is designed to insulate China from external pressures and foster resilience against potential economic sanctions. China rightly views U.S. alliances and partnerships in Asia as direct threats. In reaction, it has sought to strengthen its own regional relationships and expand its influence through initiatives, like the Belt and Road Initiative, aiming to create a counterbalance to U.S.-led coalitions. To mitigate the effects of U.S. sanctions, China has developed legal frameworks that allow for countermeasures against foreign economic pressures. The recent passage of the Law on Foreign Relations empowers China to enact retaliatory measures against actions it deems harmful to its sovereignty and security. Overall, China's response to the maximum pressure strategy has been to consolidate its energy procurement, with strategic diplomatic support for Iran, along with a broader effort to strengthen its position against U.S. hegemony. And Russia has significantly deepened its military and economic ties with Iran since the onset of the Ukraine war in 2022. The ongoing military collaboration between Russia and Iran will continue, potentially expanding into new areas, such as advanced missile technology and air defense systems. This cooperation serves mutual interests in countering U.S. influence in the region. Beyond military cooperation, there is also economic integration between Russia and Iran, including trade agreements and joint ventures, aimed at mitigating the effects of sanctions imposed by Western countries. And then, there is Iran's recent accession to BRICS, which marks a significant shift in its geopolitical strategy, particularly in the context of the U.S. maximum pressure campaign, aimed at isolating Tehran, economically and politically. Iran officially joined BRICS in 2024, a move seen as a strategic effort to dismantle its economic and political isolation, while enhancing its influence within a bloc that includes major and emerging economies, such as Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. This membership is a counterbalance to Western hegemony, particularly against U.S. sanctions that have severely impacted Iran's economy since the Trump administration withdrew, as noted, from the nuclear deal in 2018. Iran's inclusion in BRICS will restore international legitimacy to its government, which has faced significant challenges due to international sanctions and many regime change operations. The support from BRICS nations provides a platform for Iran to assert itself more confidently on the global stage. Economically, BRICS membership offers Iran an opportunity to broaden its trade relations. The bloc collectively represents nearly half of the world's population, which will undermine U.S. efforts to enforce sanctions. As well, Iran aims to leverage this membership to increase oil exports and engage in trade, without reliance on the U.S. dollar, thus aligning with the broader move towards de-dollarization among BRICS members. Despite these opportunities, Iran faces significant economic hurdles. Its economy is currently struggling with high inflation and low growth rates, making it one of the weaker economies within BRICS. Many countries, particularly China and Russia, have shown resistance to U.S.-led sanctions, and are likely to continue their economic engagements with Iran, despite potential repercussions. And as noted, the geopolitical landscape has evolved since the initial implementation of maximum pressure on Iran. Countries are increasingly willing to defy U.S. sanctions for strategic benefits, complicating American enforcement efforts. The key feature of sanctions is to completely isolate a country, so that out of desperation, it agrees to do what the United States dictates. The problem for the United States has been that sanctions do not bring about compliance, rather resistance and hostility. The United States never builds an off-ramp, let alone a strategy for engagement, because it seems no longer to possess any great reserve of what is called soft power. In other words, diplomacy. So that the world no longer stands in shock and awe of the United States. Without soft power, there is only the ramping up of hostilities, while the cogs of Washington's industrial military complex keep turning. Thus, though President Trump agreed to resume his strategy of maximum pressure, Iran's entry into BRICS represents a pivotal moment in its foreign policy strategy, as it seeks to navigate the complexities of international relations, under the shadow of renewed U.S. sanctions. This membership will provide new avenues for economic engagement and political support. And the effectiveness of any renewed maximum pressure campaign will depend on how well the U.S. can maintain global coalitions against Iran amidst shifting geopolitical alliances. But then global coalitions require large reserve of goodwill for the United States by foreign nations. It is because of America's shock and awe approach that BRICS has gathered strength. Will President Trump understand how to cultivate soft power?